This is a PIC computing video on spreadsheets in business for Unit 42 of BTEC Nationals IT. So we're going to look at how spreadsheets can be useful to businesses and how interpretation methods can be used to analyse data. We'll explain what that means in a moment. First of all, we'll just get a couple of things straight. Spreadsheets model complex problems, so we call them models. When we say models, we don't mean this sort of model. We call them models because they model real life situations, just like this model of an airport models a real life situation, a real life airport. So what can be done with models for businesses? Well, here's some examples. They can be used for controlling budgets, or forecasting sales figures, or even projecting payroll costs. Before we look at those examples in more detail, let's just make sure you're straight on some other things. Models can contain variables. These are values that might change and could be things like numeric data or money data, currency. There might also be fixed values, values that never change within a model. And then there are rules. These are the formulas we put in, the maths we put in, and these represent rules from real life. If we look at this simple example of a spreadsheet model, we'll see there are variables such as the profit that we might want to make on items for this electrical shop. That could change. VAT changes from time to time. It used to always be 17.5%, then it went down to 15%, and it's currently, in 2013, 20%. And the price that the warehouse might charge Emily's electrical shop for items will also vary from time to time. So these values can all be changed, and then we see different values come out in our totals. As well as variables, we may have fixed values, such as this text here. As far as I know, a television will always be called a television, so that might be a fixed piece of data. And then of course we all have all these rules that are written in the formulas. So there's a formula in here to calculate how much profit we might want to make on a television if we're making 15% profit. So anywhere we find a formula, these are our rules. Now some rules in models are definite, so we know that the formula that was used to calculate how much profit we wanted to make is a definite rule. We know that always works. But some rules in spreadsheet models are just predictions, especially when we're forecasting something in the future, such as future sales. We'll start to look at some forecasting now, starting with cash flow forecasting. Forecasts are difficult to achieve. If you think about a forecast we probably know quite well, the weather forecast, weather forecasts are notorious for not always being correct. We might be forecast sunshine and it actually turns out to be cloudy and rain. The more years worth of data you have, the more accurate forecasts will be. So you need to try and build up data over the years so you can start to see trends, and that helps you make forecasts. Cash flow forecasts are used by accountants to always make sure companies have enough cash to pay their bills. The forecasts look at the same data from previous years to predict when money is coming in, so they can also predict if they need to stall payments they need to make for their bills. Here's an example of a cash flow forecast spreadsheet model where we can see that at the top we have receipts, money coming in, and below we have payments, money going out, and this will help accountants figure out if we've got enough money to pay our bills or if we need to wait for some more money to come in. Budget control is all about making sure that a company makes profit so its shareholders get a nice healthy payout at the end of the year. Budget control is similar to cash flow forecasting in that it will predict income and outcome throughout the year, but the difference with budget control is that it also shows actuals. So how are things actually happening at the moment, and it compares those actuals to the predictions to see if a company is on track with its budget. If the company isn't on track with their budget, then they might need to reassess targets and make changes to their business operations. Here's an example of a budget control model where, as well as forecasted data, we also have actual data, which is then compared in the last column. Forecasting sales allows companies to predict salaries and commission for their sales staff. This will help motivate the sales staff and in turn should increase sales. Companies have got to be careful though that if they are forecasting certain sales, that their production team can meet them. For instance, if this man is forecasting that his company is going to sell 1 million combine harvesters in 2013, can his production team make that many combine harvesters? Payroll forecasting is so important because staffing is usually every company's main cost. There are lots of complicated things involved with payroll forecasting. You will have staff leaving each year. Do you need new staff to replace those staff, or do you need new staff because your company is expanding? Some staff will progress, meaning that they will have worked for the company longer and might demand higher salaries. And then there's always things to think about in terms of paying employees national insurance and their pension contributions. So payroll can get very complicated, therefore it's important to have a spreadsheet model to forecast it for you. And companies will forecast their payroll for months, years ahead. Now we're going to have a quick think about the different interpretation methods we can use to help us analyse complex data. These will include totaling, using functions in spreadsheet formulas such as sum, SUMIF, max and min. There's something called what-if analysis, and a popular what-if analysis tool is something called goal-seek. In this version of Emily's Electrical Shop model, I'm going to use goal-seek to try and do a bit of trial and error to figure out what I need to do in terms of changing the number of television stock I have in to make sure that I'm going to have £15,000 income instead of just over £12,000 income. So it's quite a neat trick. If you click on the cell that you want the total to change for and go to data, what if analysis and goal seek, and then it says it's going to set cell D10 and we want to set it to 15,000 instead of 12,000, but we want to change cell C4 in order to do it. And when I click on OK, what you'll see is the total here goes to 15,000 and the number in stock in terms of televisions should change to show us the number of televisions we'd need to have in stock. So it's done it, but we know that we can't have 17.9 televisions in stock, so we'd actually need 18 in order to get £15,000 income. Goal seek could of course be done manually, but it would take more time to do, although lots of what-if analysis is done in a spreadsheet by just manually changing values and seeing what totals come up. Other interpretation methods include statistical analysis. This will involve the complex setup of spreadsheets and some complex formula. Here's an example of some statistical analysis done within a spreadsheet. And we might do something called trend analysis as well, which helps us to highlight trends over time, where things might increase rapidly or decrease, and it will often be graphs and charts that help us do this, and in particular line charts. Hope all this helped, and thanks for watching.